Breaking news that we got to get to right now. Again, concerning some news out of Fox. None of it actually surprises me. Let me just say that, because we're learning that Fox is exactly perhaps what you already anticipated and you already thought, and that's that they're a big corporate entity that is quite fearful these days of getting sued. I mean, getting sued because, let's face it, they've been sued quite aggressively, quite badly, to the tune of nearly $1 billion. I mean, just amazing, right? The $800 million lawsuit from Dominion. And so when the White House comes knocking on your door and starts threatening a lawsuit because of some of the programming that you have on TV, well, they start to get a little bit nervous, because how much more can they handle? Look, I think a lot of people felt very strongly that they shouldn't have settled that case the way that they did, because it was a bad move effectively for journalism. In other words, if you're trying to go with the defense that, well, we were just doing our jobs, we were just reporting, then why would you suddenly pay up to the tune of nearly $800 million, right? Nearly $1 billion, just a massive amount of money to Dominion. They've got over $2 billion that Smartmatic is suing them for. So I'm sure they're like, okay, this is the last thing we need. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden knocking on the door. So we learned today that they are dropping a key program. This would be a mini-series they had on Hunter Biden. So apparently on Fox Nation, they were running some mini-series about Hunter Biden. And of course, the other day, Hunter's lawyers, they threatened to sue Fox News because of this mini-series. Now, I guess the mini-series was part of it, right? Because they just don't like the coverage in general. But apparently this mini-series involves some pictures of Hunter that were taken from his computer. That computer that was just, nothing to see here. Remember that whole ordeal? The reason why the New York Post got its account shut down by Twitter? Perhaps one of the reasons why Elon wound up buying Twitter? Yeah, that laptop. So that laptop had some rather risque pictures on it, shall we say. We'll go with that. Things that you just can't unsee. All right? Like, I don't want to see them. Thank you very much. But apparently Fox Nation felt it was important to put it in this documentary or this mini-series that they had. And so they had all that stuff in there. The lawyers for Hunter decided to play hardball. And this was sending a direct message to Fox. So what did Fox do? It canceled the series. It pulled the plug on the whole series, which is really interesting because, as I recall, didn't Tucker Carlson have a whole bunch of footage on January 6th? And he was like running with that, and then all of a sudden he wasn't, and then all of a sudden he was gone? Wonder how that works. Anyway, this removal of this particular series, a six-parter, by the way, six-part series, so they were all in on this thing, is rather significant. According to the spokesperson, though, from Fox News, apparently you shouldn't read too much into this. This was just sort of business as usual because they wanted to take their necessary precautions. Let me just remind you, if you're a journalist organization, business as usual, pulling a mini-series because the White House tells you to, that's not really just taking precautions, right, to be fair. But let me read the statement. This program was produced in and has been available since 2022, so nearly 2 years. We are reviewing the concerns that have been raised and out of abundance of caution in the interim have taken it down. This is according to a spokesperson there at Fox News. They also said, according to the CNN report, that this program was produced in and has been available since 2022, and apparently they didn't see anything wrong with it back then. So, little headline for you to think about. It's important, just in the context of everything right now, to think about where we are. I mention this because you consider how crazy the world is right now. They keep telling us that Donald Trump is some kind of vicious devil that's going to shut down the media. You got members over the extreme left on MSNBC worried that their job is going to be finito should Donald Trump come back into the Oval Office. And I'm like, wait a second, the person that's actually kind of really trying to manipulate and pressure the press, that actually would be Joe Biden. I mean, you had all kinds of animosity out there. Think about it. I mean, Jim Acosta, every single day, those press conferences that we had to sit through, right? Those were something. The absurd sort of rude quality to him that was directed at the president, that was out in abundance for you to see. And yes, he took aim back at them. I mean, it was really quite something to see, remember? I mean, who could forget? But I think that knowing that that was out there. I mean, you got to think about, if you really have freedom of the press, it's not great, right? And the president is picking on you and you're in the back row with your camera. That said, you were in the room with your camera. The difference now is that you have people going behind the scenes, and sometimes they go out really publicly when they're not getting their way. Believe me, most of it happens behind the scenes, where they say, oh, you know, we want this, that, or the other. And so they're trying to influence the story, they're trying to influence the situation, and they're doing so in a way that the public actually really doesn't see. And to me, that's more problematic. That's more dangerous. And that's exactly what we have going on. So I regret to inform you that Fox is what you thought they were. And I say this with no ill will towards them. I worked a good 5 years there. But I am struck by the lack of willingness to stand up for their people, the lack of willingness to stand up for their stories. And in this case, this is a story that was already out there, had been existing, living, breathing in a 6-part series, a full-on program devoted to Hunter Biden on Fox Nation. And they decided that it couldn't run because somebody upstairs didn't want it to run. And so the Bidens clearly carry a lot of weight still, someplace, somewhere, with some people.